Yay!
Yay!
We're live, my man.
Here we are.
Welcome, John Cardonia, and welcome to the millions of viewers globally and intergalactically. And welcome to our show live with people who move hospitality. That's John Cardonia. I'm Adam Zembruski. My brother Matt Zembruski will be joining us in about, I'm going to guess, about 17 seconds. Let's see how we do there. I know he's getting off another call. He's joining us for the next hour. It's 3:00 Eastern time on Thursday. And John, you have been joining us from the very beginning. You and I have known each other for a lot of years, but you've been joining us quite often on this very special show. And hey, there's my Broseph. Let's let him get in here. Hey-o!
John, how you doing?
All right, welcome back to Americanos.
Oh, I was out in your buddy Italy over there for a little bit.
That's what I heard. You visited a couple of nice continents there. That's very nice. Countries.
Fantastic. Great people over there.
We're going to talk a little bit about that because John and I have an idea for a future episode. I was just saying hi to John. We are, we are live, of course.
Let's go.
Happy Thursday. And at 3:00 here, we so this is a big deal for me and my bro because we started this on May 25th, which is our mom's birthday, and it was Thursdays at 3:00. And amazingly, we said, let's try something new. Let's try to get a little bit better, but be consistent, right? And bro, I've gone on and on about how much I noticed how inconsistent I was before with trying new stuff, like put it off to the side, try something else better. But we said, let's do it 10 weeks in a row and just really dedicate and commit ourselves to do that, right? And then we did 11, and then we did 12 and 13, and this is episode 26. It's half a year.
Wow. Big stuff.
Oh, congratulations and thank you, bro. Love you, and this is so cool. So, also,
congratulations, guys.
I'm a numbers geek, but 26 also represents half of a card deck.
Oh boy.
So I don't know. You guys can do your own. Nice. Star Wars.
I got that. I asked for that for my birthday this year, by the way. I said I'm 52. I'm a full deck of cards. I'm playing with a full deck now.
Nice. You're playing with a full deck finally. I love that.
I got for my birthday. Yeah. Finally playing with a full deck.
That's awesome.
You're advertising Star Wars. I've heard of that movie franchise before. Maybe there'll be a sponsor for us in the future.
Ooh, maybe.
They've been somewhat successful in the movie industry, I heard.
A little bit.
So I used to work for Foxwoods Resort Casino. Shout out to Foxwoods for giving me my up in Connecticut at a Mashantucket Pequot tribe for giving me my first management opportunity in hotels. Next year will be 30 years that I was first promoted. And so I was I say I was spoiled, but I was that experience as a first management job at a Four Diamond Resort Casino, which was the first of its kind in that section of the country. It was an amazing experience. And the idea of operating a hotel 24 hours, like most hotels, but also the busiest times were overnight because of the casino. And my first job was the night audit manager overnight from 12 to 8 in the morning. And so I did not work in the casino ever. But I had a gaming license because you needed to be employed by the tribe and the gaming commission. And so the topic of conversation was constantly around gaming, cards, statistics, probability, Matt, I know that you have some friends that you had a friend or have a friend that's like a professional gambler, and he travels around and does all that. And so that's always stayed with me as it relates to gaming and professional working environments, and very thoughtful and friendly competition and collaboration as it relates to just working together. Right. So I've always had a deck of cards when I became a general manager, always in my desk. There's always a way to, just sit down with somebody for 5 minutes and do a little quick challenge. And so if you've worked with me over the past 30 years, we may have actually done this challenge together, because I've done it with a lot of people, and I now do it with my kids. And the challenge that I'm going to talk through a little bit, I have a video too, bro, that I recorded myself doing this earlier today to save time.
Yeah.
And also to save the moving my video around, making sure you can see it. But
that's just because you were already hydrated. You already did your warm up exercises. You had your 4 cups of coffee. I know.
That's right.
You had it all wired up. You already edited out all the thoughts, right? You pressed it down.
It's I think the name of the show today is it's episode 26, but it's the challenge and statistics episode. So the idea of using statistics and into collaborative, that's a really important part of it, collaborative challenges with teams. And I was just talking to John. I'm gonna let John say a few words, but I was saying that, I can say that I've been in the hotel business for 30 years, but really anyone that is working in a hotel, we happen to be inside of a hotel or owning a hotel or managing a hotel. But really what we are really good at creating and maintaining high functioning teams. And I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. Right. So you could say it's in HR, you could say it in operations, you could say you're an asset manager, whatever. But really, if you're not part of a high functioning team, don't worry about the statistics, because they're not going to, the performance and the benchmarks, you're not going to hit them. It just won't exist. And so this challenge has to do with one little thing to do inside of a hotel or any business, really. That is fun, it's collaborative, and it's challenging. And so that's my son calling right now, but I think I know why he's calling, and he's going to call his mom. We already worked that out. Sorry.
I thought he was going to come up in the challenge. Probably good.
That's another, he's done it many times. But anyways, we're going to get to that. I'm going to show the video, and then we're going to talk through specifically how challenges. Bro, you've done a lot of challenges. You have that same mentality of challenging people that you work with or want to work with, or whatever that might be. So I wanted to say hi to my friend John Cardonia here. John, you've joined here several times, and thanks, man, for joining. John is, I would describe you as a great human being. And I would describe you professionally as someone that has been in the engineering field with various industries. You're thank you for your service. I don't say it enough, but you are a Navy veteran. So
appreciate it,
John.
Thank you, guys. It was a privilege and an honor. For sure.
Well, it's an honor that you spend time with us, and I won't call them stories, but your experiences that you've shared with me, I probably have only heard about 1% of them. And so it's an amazing life and experience that you've had. So thank you for your sacrifice, your honor, everything, John, sincerely.
Absolutely.
You're been a chief engineer at one hotel. You've been a chief engineer at multiple hotels. You've worked in other industries, apartments and offices, and you used to work on jet engines for the Navy. So you're an awesome talent. And so I love talking with you, John, because not only do you have a much like what I was saying about me working in hotels, you've also worked in hotels, but really you've been around teams a lot. You've been around high. I mean, when we talk about the U.S. military, we probably don't have any other, it's no comparison when we talk about high functioning teams, right? And so it was built around that. And so, you know, we call them stand-ups in hotels. There's 60,000 hotels, and technically, I believe that every hotel every morning should have a hotel stand-up, which is gather as many people around just for 10, 15, even 20 minutes, and you talk about your day, and you take 2 or 3 minutes to do something like this, where you say, all right, what's the challenge of the day? Who's going to come up here and speak? Who's going to do this or that? And it really takes 2 or 3 minutes, but it's invigorating, and you do it the first part of the day, and it's just awesome. It's what people look forward to. It's what people get nervous about because they're stretching, and they're stretching that rubber band a little bit, you know. So, John, I don't know. Does anything come to mind as far as like other stand-up meetings and things like that you've been around, or even in the Navy that you've done?
Yeah, I'd have to say probably going outside the Navy, being in the hospitality, would be when you do like a stand up. Sometimes you do a prodigy of each department, if you will, and say, you know, okay, Maria from housekeeping, if you were in engineering, how would you handle a running toilet? You've got 2 minutes.
Boom.
And it
nice.
Silence. And then on the backside of that, you have housekeeping reverse the same question, but challenge it to sales. And you know, it really gets the mind juices running. If you think about it, in housekeeping, they know exactly what they do. They have an idea what sales does. You sell, but they don't see behind the walls. They don't see going to different stores, new stores, buying cookies and taking them to maybe a new business. You may not get the new business, but the store gets a new customer. And it just rotates, you know, it just evolves like that. As you said, stretch the rubber band for 1 to 2 minutes and get your mind thinking.
Matt, it reminds me of Toastmasters too, a little bit of the hotel stand-up, because John, you I think you mentioned too. Did you do Toastmasters?
I did Toastmasters for a little bit, but I was more so involved with the JCs.
Yes.
But Toastmasters was on the back side of it. You know, it was more of a speaking forum, which was pretty cool also.
Yeah, I can't remember what they called it in Toastmasters, but it was like you're on the hot seat where you have to get up in front of, 20, 30, 100,000 people, and they just give you a table topics.
Table topics.
Yeah. And they just give you a topic, man, and you got to talk about it.
Do it. No prep.
Ooh, boy.
And we had to do that in the JCs also. And if there was ever a way to break a fear of public speaking, that was the way to do it. Trust you me, if you didn't do good, they would continue to pick on you until you nailed it.
All right, so that's a really good way to refer to. So the first time you do table topics at a Toastmaster, you have 10 minutes or 5 minutes, let's say, to talk about a topic that you were not aware of before. The first time that you do it, the first time I did it, it's very similar to the first time that you're asked to take a shuffled deck of cards and organize it into reorder each suit from 2 to ace, and to see how long it takes. The first time that you do it, there's no way that you're going to hit 2 minutes. It's just, if you've never done it before, I don't care if you're Einstein or my son or you guys, anybody, there's or not familiar with, maybe if you're a poker dealer and never tried, maybe you're dealing with cards every day, but I don't know. But breaking 2 minutes to me was always, I tried 100 times and I couldn't break 2 minutes, and I've done it once. And And so the idea of, so the first time that you try it, it probably took me 8 or 9 minutes, right? Just like John, you said the first time, like being with the JCs and going into a speaking engagement, the first time that you try anything, the first time that we did this podcast, the first time that we talked about it, one of the episodes took an hour and 45 minutes, and it was great and wonderful, but really our goal was 30 minutes.
Yep.
And now it's kind of expanded into like 30 to an hour. But it's become less expensive, right? It's cost us less to do that. It's taken up much less of my time before. So for prep, Matt, you probably say the same thing. It's allowed us to invite people like John on a short with short notice. It's allowed people like John and others to text me like the morning of, to be like, hey, can I, like a previous guest, there's something I want to talk about. Yeah. So you're also not flexible when you first start a new thing too. So you become more flexible, become more knowledgeable. So just for reference sake, because we've been talking about it, I got the video here, bro, and I'm going to fast forward it, but I did take my my camera down and I videotaped me doing it this morning. So let me just play that real quick.
That's going to give people like tips, like how you do it and stuff. Do you want to? Why don't
Okay,
you?
well, let's
Well, you gave a little clue to it. Why don't you explain the challenge? Because you asked me to do the challenge like a week or so ago. I timed myself. It took me forever. I forgot how long it was. But why don't you just explain what the challenge is to people if they're watching this for the first time before you show your video, so then they can start to think through at least how they would do it.
Okay, good. So thank you. Yeah. So here's a deck of cards, right? There's 52 cards and it's already shuffled. So if you can get your hands on a deck of cards that's and a stopwatch, that's really all you need. Okay, so a deck of cards and some way to time yourself. So after it's shuffled, the goal is, so it's, I'll do it in the video, so that it's a shuffled deck of cards, and the final result of what you need, the goal, the challenge, is to put the 4 suits separated and each in order from 2 to ace. So after you're done, this shuffled deck of cards will be hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds, 2 to ace in 4. They could be together, but in 4 separate areas, 4 separate sections.
That's probably how it shows up in the box when you first get it, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's good. So you're putting it back into the original order.
Back in the original order. Cool.
That's now great. The how I kind of penalized myself for accuracy was I'll do it. I'll go as fast as I can. I'll stop the stopwatch, and then I will go back and review my result. I'll make sure that it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to for all 4. And then if there's any out of order, I add 10 seconds to my score.
Okay. That's
so
fair.
It's a penalty if I get it wrong. So, and that happened a lot. That still happens a lot whenever I try to do it. And by the way, this is a great just break. Take a break and do it. And it just takes you into another world. It allows you to focus on complete, it's not nonsense, but just something other than whatever you're working on.
Reset. Yeah.
It's a reset. It's a great thing. And so that's a really added benefit. So does that explain what the challenge is?
That's good. I just want to put it out there for people before you show it, because once they see it, they're going to start to. Right now, they're thinking about how they would do it themselves.
So how would you, bro? If you or how have you? What's the first like?
So I've only done it once, and what I did is I put them. I tried to spread them out as much as I could in front of me. That was like first thing, so I could get as much of that I could see, and then I looked for the 2 was first, right? So 2. So then I tried to find the 2s. Once I found 1, 2, and 1 suit, I put it there, and then I looked for the 3, then the 4, then the 5. That's probably a slow way to do it, but that was the first way I did it. So I did 1 suit at a time. Where's the 2? Put the 2 there. Where's the 3? Where's the 4? I went up, and then I went to the next one. And as you get farther down the line, there's less cards, so it goes a little faster. But that was my approach.
Yeah.
Wasn't that fast, but
I picture like a funnel almost, like you put them out on top, and then you reach down and put like 3, then 4, and then 5, and then each one.
well, yeah, mine was pretty messy though. Like I just threw them all on the table. I didn't really have a nice funnel like the magicians do, where you can see all the cards. And all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't see all the cards. That was my first challenge.
Yep.
Like if I were to do it again, like if I had to do it like for money or something, I would do it on the floor. I'd throw them all on the floor. That's what I would do. That's the first thing I would do, so I could see them all, and then I would just start grabbing and putting them down. But anyway, that's what I do right
That's
now.
interesting. You know, if you go to a like what is it, occupational therapist, like a psychologist for how you like to work, I bet that they would have a field day with that.
I
Like,
bet they would.
this is how you think. This is how you solve problems. This is how. Seriously.
Yeah.
But being able to see everything in front of me is how I started it. Also, back when I first started, that was the first way of doing it. I wanted to see everything in front of me, and if you were able to see my office and how I keep like a food pantry, I don't like putting things in cabinets. I just like things being out there. I like being, if not, I forget about them. And so I did the same thing. And so I do something different now, which you'll see. But John, what is your first instinct when, if I gave you a deck of cards right now and said reorder them?
I would probably go through them, and as I stated before, instead of handling them more than once, one set more than once, instead of putting all the groups together, then going back and then putting them in consecutive numbers on up. As I was going through, I would probably try to put them together, and I went through to handle that, the spades once, the hearts once, the diamonds once, etc., and try to break it down instead of handling it more than once.
Okay, good.
So you basically deal with cards. You just like deal them into 4 piles. You can boom, 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 boom.
Pretty much, yeah. Either like that or in your own hand. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And just kind of like if you were playing solitaire, you know what I mean? Yep. You have it straight down, but you handle it just once.
That's pretty cool.
So I'll play mine. It's real quick. I'll get to the gist of it, and then I'll fast forward it. The whole thing takes 4 minutes, but the actual stopwatch was 2 minutes and 40.
Wow.
Here it is. So I'll go back to the beginning.
Well, we know that you finished it because we saw the final.
So here's the beginning, and I'll so.
Okay. So I'm going to get started and start my timer.
Zoom in on the wrist. You're the wrist model now. Let's check out the pores in my brother's wrist.
Guess a stopwatch.
I'll so.
Okay.
And I talk over myself a little bit on there, but
here we go. Ready, go.
Wow.
So you see my process?
Not really. I'm trying to figure it out. Putting all
of them together, all the clubs together at once. And that's what I was referring to. Instead of going back, find the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and go up through.
That's like what John said. Yeah, interesting. Do it all in your hand.
Now I have
I'm nervous.
Probably larger hands than most, and I've also handled cards a lot. And so this allows me to do that. But it's not how I first started. And so there you go. So according to what I just thought I did, I got the clubs done.
Yeah.
And then I'll fast forward, and then I get and it looks like I was working on the hearts. I'll fast forward again, and I get the hearts organized, and I put that down. And I'm working on diamonds. One thing I realized doing it,
minute, 2, 3, 4.
going
And
red
back,
to black, red to black was
back.
smart, because if I was
7,
trying
6,
to decipher
7.
between hearts and diamonds, I probably would have made a mistake.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
10,
I like that. Good
Jack.
idea.
This one's not good. Queen, king, ace. Clipped. Back 2.
Funny because I stacked mine upside down compared to what you did, bro. So I did 2 up to ace,
10,
like 2 on the bottom, ace
Jack,
on the
queen,
top.
king, ace.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
Stop.
follow directions correctly, so I failed.
2 minutes, 46 seconds. Now I've got to check. And for every
So
one
now
that's wrong, I got to
I
add 10
stopped it. It was
seconds
2
to it.
minutes
So
and 46, and then I checked.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Jack, queen, king, ace. Good. Jack, queen, king, ace. Good. King, ace. Good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Jack, queen, king, ace. All right. So I got 246.
246, that's fast.
Yeah, so I that was that, and that's the process that I eventually, I'm sure there's a better process. I'm absolutely positive that there is one. I have this is the one I've kind of gone all in on, and trying to get better and better using that process. And so I might start trying other processes and see how that works out, because you think about it. I mean, it's oh yeah, the thing I wanted to mention about being collaborative, right? I think it can only be, it's invigorating and challenging for me personally, right? I'm like, oh, and I get all excited. It gets me off into a different mindset for a moment.
Yeah.
It takes me away, gets me focused on something different. But at the end of the day, I'm all alone, doing this, and it can only be so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think if I did that time after time again, if I didn't do it with other people, I don't think that I would have kept doing it, because it's like, I mean, you can self-motivate and self-challenge and stuff like that, but until you, I believe, include other people in it, even doing what we're doing now, then you break open the ceiling of enjoyment and functionality, and then you're starting to look at how other people do it, and then you've got a team.
Yeah,
you've got a team and doing these little things. So I think it's beautiful.
Are you going to talk? Do you want to talk more about stats or the team building or whatever? Because I like the approach. You didn't mention it, but I think you're aware of it. Is that in the agile space that I play in, the stand up, now they call it, because it's more diversity and inclusion correct, they call it a daily scrum or a daily huddle. They just because not everybody has legs and wheelchair accessible and things like that. So they changed it, but it used to be called daily stand up. Same exact thing. 15-minute time box or less, and you get everyone together to make your plan for the day. Your whole team, your high-performing team, gets together once every morning, kickstarts the day. What's our plan? How are we going to attack today and make today the best day ever? Like, what are we going to do? Who needs help? What's in our way? What do we do? And then as the scrum master or leader or whatever, you're listening for things like, oh, wow, it sounds like that person may be a little confused in what they're trying to do, or maybe they're not as tight with the team. Maybe they're a new housekeeper, right? And they don't know how to, do the levels of rooms that we're doing today or whatever it is. So I might want to pair them up, right? So how can the team work better together? So my point in saying that is, I think it's awesome that you do the same type of daily stand-up and you have a collaborative game, because not all of the teams that I've seen have a collaborative game or a kickstart or icebreaker, but the best ones typically do, and they're really good at doing it like in 60 seconds to 2 minutes. And it's like, all right, quick, around the room, whether it's one person going on the hot seat or whether it's, all right, everybody, what was your 2-word answer for how you're feeling right now, whatever. Boom, there's a lot of like quick little mood checks. There's a lot of things you can do, but it wakes everybody up, it gets everybody engaged. I saw one from the chief innovation officer at Disney once, which was one of my favorite ones ever. I call it the Disney Energizer. And I'll just explain it real quick because you can use it for any place. But You get everybody, number one, I've seen this with hundreds and hundreds of people on a Zoom session, and everybody. So he's like, all right, everybody, video's on. Everybody stand up. Everybody get a blank piece of paper. Hold it up to the camera so we can all see it. Okay, great. We're going to have, this is a 60-second exercise. We're going to have 30 seconds to do a challenge. Okay, put the paper behind your back. Hold it behind your back so you can't see it. Stand up in front of the camera. Okay, you have 30 seconds. Tear it into your favorite Disney character. Go. And everyone's like this. They're going like this, and you can't see. You're tearing a piece of paper. All right, 30 seconds is up. Hold it up to the camera. And everyone holds it up, and it's just like a complete farce. Everyone's laughing. It's like, what is this crumpled piece of paper? And then people can look at each other and like, oh my goodness, what is that? Oh, that's Mulan. Oh, that's Hercules. Whatever. It's so
awesome.
It's 1 minute, and everybody's jazzed at that point. And then you go into the meeting.
That's excellent.
So that's a fun one.
It's a very fun one. It probably makes everyone just calm down. Like, even if you don't know the people, it's a new meeting. You're trying to, icebreaker. It's
huge.
That is the one of the main purposes for the hotel stand-up. And we can talk a lot about the effects of the COVID, the pandemic, and how it affected. It's still affecting hospitality in hotels because that practice, it didn't go away, but from what I've heard and spoken to people, the hotel stand-up practice every single day, it has decreased in frequency because for a while, even though hotels were deemed essential and didn't close, many did close. Many, closed down and closed their reservations and all that. And so if you got no guests there, you have no one to work there. So of course, you're not going to have a hotel stand-up. Sometimes you got one person there, two people overseeing the building. And so a lot of that went off into the ether, right? It just kind of disappeared. And so I'm a huge fan. And bro, you helped me with buying the domain first that I still have hotel stand-up. And so it's it's all the, it needs to, if you're listening or watching, it doesn't matter if you're running a hotel or a restaurant. I have a lot of examples of the benefits. And one of them is watching your colleagues, how you just described, right? Your boss or your colleague or someone that you work with fumbling around, trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do, looking like an idiot, like trying to and there's something magical to that. There's something really magical to that happening. One quick example.
It levels the playing field, right? Everyone's equal. Diversity, inclusion. Doesn't matter your rank, how many years you've been working there. Doesn't matter anything about your background. Everyone's equal. You're all doing a very simple activity that makes everyone on an equal playing field, and that's cool. You're to interject. Didn't Evelyn do that like once a week? She had her little dance off or whatever, right? I mean, that's an amazing way to do it, incorporating dance and movement, and that's awesome, right? I mean,
imagine if I was in there and like they say, hey, come on in, Adam, and start dancing. I would look like a dummy, but that's the benefit. That's what I get the benefit of like expressing some energy, and they get the benefit of seeing this big bald beard guy with glasses and jumping around like a dummy. But there's benefits to all that. But to the statistics point, so you just mentioned the level playing field. Okay, so without getting too much into the specifics, and so does John, that I've been working on something since 2016, and it is related to developing a level playing field for all hotels, regardless of the size, the scale, if you're independent or luxury boutique or an economy motel, whether you're in Las Vegas or whether you're in Paducah, Kentucky. And so I've been working on statistics and data, and people in the hotel industry love balanced scorecards, and that's all good. They all have it. They have a balanced scorecard for their company. They got 20 hotels and they look at the same spreadsheet and the same statistics. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. It's good for them. but they're still in that silo and they're benefiting themselves. There's not a lot of reaching out to compare themselves. There's no current number or score that they can compare their performance to others, even though they're all doing the same thing. The one thing, there's more than one, but the one thing that all hotels share is the fact that the inventory is a hotel guest room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. So we in our industry, and I have done this myself, overcomplicate things quite often. And what that does is it creates a perception that the 7,000 room, what's the Palazzo?
Marriott or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Venetian. The Venetian, I think, is still the United States largest, technically largest hotel. It's over 7,000 rooms, right?
Wow.
But at the end of the day, they have 7,000 rooms. There's no difference in inventory and what they're selling than the Hampton Inn in Paducah, Kentucky, that has 80 rooms and no food and beverage, nothing else. It's just that's what connects them. And so why can't, and this is what we're answering, that Hampton Inn in Paducah, Kentucky, and I picked Paducah because I like the name and I've been there and I've looked at some hotels there. It's a great town. Why can't they be on a level playing field with the 7,000 room Venetian? They are. It's the same as Old Navy selling sweaters and Gap selling sweaters and I don't know, Versace.
Yeah.
Versace's sweater. It's still a sweater. It's a bunch of yarn developed into something. It might cost more, but still it's the same inventory. So your comment about statistics and creating a level playing field, I think, is really important. And so how that relates to high functioning teams, how that relates to these little challenges, how could you possibly enjoy a challenge together as a team if you're not on a level playing field? And because just like I mentioned, where I have kind of bigger hands, to handle cards better. But still the goal is the same. It's to put them in the right order. And that doesn't mean that somebody with smaller hands can't also improve their original benchmark or their original score.
Yep.
And I think all that matters. And so when the individual challenge is set of saying, hey, Adam, do this, Matt, do this, John, do this, when we incorporate other people into it, I think it becomes more fun. And it's like you could start approaching personal fulfillment rather than just the basics of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Yep. You start advancing up and be like, why am I doing this? Oh, I'm going into work today not to just clean rooms. I'm going into work today because I heard that John Cardonia is going to try to do public speaking for the first time. And he's going to try it out. He wants to be a public speaker, next year in his life or whatever. And he's going to try it out on us tomorrow. That's going to make me want to go into work to see that. And I can give John feedback. I can do all that. And so as we go through this conversation, bro, I think you connected your Agile world with the hospitality world with, you also call it the stand-up.
Yep.
So let me ask you guys a question about, okay, we got high functioning teams, right? But when the team is the division of labor and the expertise of what they have, so a front desk agent at a hotel versus maybe a housekeeper at a hotel, level playing field is the fact that they're working in a hotel.
Yeah.
And but they have very different jobs when they go about the day. And so what we call it in our industry is cross-functioning or cross-training, which is also a wonderful tactic or practice. You don't need to budget for it. It's just you pick one day a month or whatever. You have the front desk agent go clean rooms for a day. Yep. You have a housekeeper go work at the front desk for a day, and they're cross-training. They're becoming cross-functional. And when the bottom drops out, like COVID or pandemic, if it's already being in a cross-functioning, high-functioning team environment, then those people have a more of a diverse experience now, so that if the bottom drops out of the industry like it did, well, that front desk agent does not now have to go only for front desk agent jobs.
Right.
They can say, I've learned, I've been cross-trained in housekeeping,
Yep.
and vice versa, right? I've learned the computer system of a front desk system. And so John, I'll ask you for some examples of that in your experience, but Matt, let me ask you about Agile with, maybe software development or something like that. With you must have the same thing where people are doing, they're working on the same project or the same product, but they're doing very different things.
Yep. It's the exact same thing, actually. They call it in the Agile world, they call it T-shaped skills, because you go deep in your own skill. Like if you're the front desk agent, you go really deep in that. If you're a developer, like a front end developer, you're great at websites, say. So you're doing all the web pages, you're doing all that stuff. That's your expertise. You can do that all day with your eyes closed, but you don't know how to connect it to the data. You don't know how to test it. You don't know how to release it or tie it to your WordPress or whatever it is. T-shaped skills, what they do, the ideal Agile teams are cross-functional, so the people have had time to train in the other roles, so that the T is basically you're deep in one area, but you're shallow across all the other areas. So if the demand goes really high, like on the testing, like, oh, we did so much development, we built like 80 new web pages or whatever, and we need to test them all. Now everybody tests. That's all everyone's doing today or tomorrow for 3 days or whatever. Everyone's just testing because that's a particular skill, but everyone knows enough about it because they've been cross-trained. And a practical example of this is when I used to work at another example. I used to work at a conferencing company way back before early days of the internet, before we had all of these Zoom conferences. We just had audio conference bridges and a little bit of video, but for the most part, it was just audio. You either had your phone call and you called one person, or you wanted to call a lot of people, like a company wanted to do their stock report or whatever. So they would open up a big conference bridge is what it was called. But this company that I was at was a pretty small startup in America for a bigger company, and they didn't have a lot of staff. We had maybe a couple hundred people there. People were developing, people were doing stuff. We had, teams of people doing various things. But what happened is because they were a startup, as they took on new clients, sometimes they would have like, oh, the quarter just ended, the fiscal quarter. All of our clients want to do their stock report next week. Someone's doing it Monday, 10 companies doing it Tuesday. So everybody would come into the office, and every now and then a big bell would ring, and when that bell rings, it means everybody answers the phones to welcome the clients in the bridge, because the way it worked is the high service, the white glove service would be, you don't just dial into a conference bridge or a Zoom session, you dial in and an operator welcomes you. Oh, thank you for calling XYZ's company bridge. We're going to be on the stock call today. We're going to bring you into the meeting now. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Boom. So everybody had to know how to do that. And it was happening all the time. It was great because the startup, like, we wanted more clients, but every now and then, everybody from the CEO all the way to the new employee who just started right out of college, everybody picked up the phone because everybody was cross-trained for that particular skill. So that was an exciting application of it. And I'm sure in the hotel, it's the same thing. If all of a sudden, I don't know, there's some damage in a section of the hotel and it needs to be super cleaned or whatever, maybe everybody needs to do cleaning for half the day, right? Or most of the staff needs to do that. Or most of the staff needs to go to the front desk because we're checking in 3 busloads of people, right, at the same time. And the rooms are already clean. So
that's a good example.
Right? Something like that. So we have the same thing. John, what do you have?
Well, I'll say what popped in my head was all hands on deck, which I think is a Navy term.
Yes,
I would think, right?
Sure.
Is that an all hands on deck situation? What is that, by the way? We've all heard of that, but is that
Navy term? That means that it is an emergency situation. We need all hands on deck, man your battle stations. This is it. This is it. This is not a drill. This is the actual thing. Let's get it done. Woo! You've been doing it. You know it. But yeah, in the hospitality industry, it is very similar to that. I think probably one of the greatest ones is when you are experiencing power outages and you do not have a generator backup. Uh, we need to make keys, and we need to make them. We got to have them. We got to make sure that everybody knows where they are, how they're done, and who's going to deliver them. And take an example, we just had a power outage. Oh God, this is going to be going on all day. We need to make 125 plus keys. We need to have everybody up here at the front to help these guests check in. We need to have one person over here handing them a bottle of water. Oh, but I don't work well in around people that I don't know. I get nervous. Good. Best chance right here. Throw you to the wolves, pal. This is it. And the funny thing is when the mayhem is over, you all look at each other, you laugh. You go, "Did you see him? He's tripping over the luggage. He dropped the water and broke hold of that lady's shoe." You laugh about what you hated, but you all came together at that point and at that time, and you all learned something. You learned, one, that you are actually a team and you can actually work together. Then second, you learn, wow, I guess I can handle myself in front of people. Wow, that was pretty cool. I didn't know we could do that. You have the one guy who's marching people to the rooms and letting them in with a master and saying, "Here's your key. Have a great evening. Anything we can do for you," and move on. It basically all comes together to a T, and everybody learns something in the cage of wolves.
Love it.
Right on. The Cage of Wolves, you said what, after the mayhem, after the storm? Yep. Sometimes the storm lasts overnight. Sometimes it lasts for 3 months. Sometimes a pandemic lasts forever, or like 6 months. And I've something that popped in my head was when 9/11 happened. I was working at a hotel when the Great Recession of 2008 and 9. I was working in hotels. The pandemic, COVID, I'm working in hotels, and the things that happened in between, I don't remember as much. Right. I don't meaning like the extreme positives I remember and the extreme negatives, but I will tell you that I'm probably 90% of the people that I was with in 2001 and 2008 and then in 2020, at 90% I'm still in touch with and still friendly with. And I can't say the same thing as in the in-betweens. Unless it was one of those events where I remember all the power outages, man. It's crazy. I remember all the hurricane preps and the tornado warnings. Did it touch down? Is it here? What do we do? And and then after it, John, I can tell you that I felt you just moved me, because after the storm or after the mayhem, you're right. That is when the team, you got some glue that's connecting you, right?
Yep.
That's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It really is, and then again, it can go in an adverse direction. It really can. People who are unprepared, a storm hits, and excuse language, but all hell breaks loose, and everybody's grappling in empty pockets, and that's it. So there's two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you either adapt or you don't, and we saw the pandemic saw this in a very big way, right, John? I mean, and Brew, I mean, it's just we saw industries, like the hospitality industry, but also just in the hospitality industry, certain companies were more agile, I would use my term, or more able to adapt to this massive influx of change. And in my world, it was like, wow, we have the company I'm consulting with, we had tens of thousands of employees, and within 10 days, everybody had a laptop, everybody was connected in and could work from home. And that company went up through the pandemic, which is amazing. Some of their competitors went down, out of business, whatever, because they weren't prepared. If all of a sudden nobody can come to the office, and nobody can do work because you didn't enable that, now you're out of business, right? I mean, imagine that. Whereas
it.
if you say, all right, how can we quickly get the laptops? How can we quickly get everybody access? And how can we check in to make sure people are okay, right? You got to like now pivot to, is your family healthy? Are you okay? Is everything all right? You know, that's more important than work. So if you don't have that
That's
attitude
right.
and have that ability, so that, you know, the pandemic was a big example of change being in, like you're talking about with a hurricane or with a storm or something like that. That's a smaller but also significant for those 24 hours or whatever. That's like all hands on deck. What are we going to do? And if you don't have a plan, or you don't have at least one leader there with a mindset of how to handle that, then the ship's going to go down.
It is. It's got to be a hierarchy, as you would say, mindset, because not only are you working with the team, but you're also working with the outside customers, clients, guests, whatever it is. Those people all of a sudden have a mind dump when they come to your establishment. They expect you to do what you do, regardless of the fact. But you hit the word agile. My football coach in high school, his favorite saying: fragile, mobile, agile. Straight across the board, you know. Never forgot that. But and that hits in life every time, you know. You can't be fragile. You got to be mobile, and you got to be agile.
Yep, that's nice.
I like
Joe.
that.
I like that.
You know, you just popped up another memory, but you know, the movie Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
What I was I'm sure that it was similar to this, but what blew my mind a lot, I love the movie and I love the whole story and everything, but what blew my mind was and I don't know if this is exactly correct, but was the movie was happening, right? And we're in the search for Osama bin Laden, and like, and all that time had gone by. Like the woman, Jessica Chastain, that character, was searching, saying, I think that we know where he is. I think we know where he is. Well, they're up there in their offices using technology and spy networks and such to learn about where he is. Well, what blew my mind was towards the end, or the middle of the end, was when they said go.
Yeah.
That the SEAL Team 6, right? They just said, what are we doing? Boom, that's our mission. Boom, we're going. They did not need to do 1 second of training. They had already been trained, you know, for years and years and years. And that was the elite. And that's why people still talk about SEAL Team 6. It's because all of this prep, they have been through almost probably every emergency or simulation for an emergency, constantly and regularly. And when it came time to execute, there was no discussion. I was like, that is awesome. It was boom, we're doing it. And then there was a success, right?
Yep.
That's a movie that was made because there was a success. But I'm not asking this, but how many failures are there every single day in the military and in business? And that practice, that exercise, that daily routine that people go through, they're learning, they're becoming cross-functional. And just like you said, Matt, with the company that you're consulting for, they went up, they were able to, but it's because they were already going through the agile transformation, right?
Exactly.
For years, and learning about that, and they were able to do that. I have some examples too that I can share, that of companies and individuals and people that had, you know, a farming term, you put the hay is in the barn, right? The hay is there. And then when you need the hay, you pull from it. A lot of people and a lot of companies, they were hit with the pandemic and they didn't have any hay in the barn. And they're like, whoa, what do we do now? And it's like, well, I hope that they learned from it. And that's what we're, you know, I think that that's the topic of the today's show. It's the collaborative effort. It's the daily challenges, the daily routine, implementing cross-functional, you know, collaborative, working together and learning, making fun of each other, you know, maybe even creating simulations of emergencies, which could be fun. Like, you know, we do fire drills. And so when there's a fire, you need to know what happens. And so it's not a great term. So John, you said the term that popped in my head was post-mortem, and so technically that means after somebody dies, right? But
Right.
I love the idea of having a post-mortem meeting, meaning after the mayhem, like you said, John, after the storm, teams are built, but what can a team do? What can a team leader or an owner or an operator, a general manager or some sort of team owner, what can they do afterwards to optimize that asset, that feeling of teamwork that was just forged in a fire, right? There's huge value in there. And so,
Absolutely.
Matt, what's the term in Agile? Is there like a
Agile-
post-mortem?
Yeah, project management before Agile used to use postmortem. Agile came up with a term which I like a lot better called retrospective. So you look back on what just happened, you process it. What could we have done differently? What was good about that? What do we want to keep doing? And then you look forward to the future. You sort of like make a little mini plan for like, all right, it's a break in the action, right? It's like, hey, we just finished whatever, 2 weeks of work or a day of activity or whatever. Now let's have a little quick retrospective as a team. Again, this is really key for high performing teams. You got to stop and introspect. What did we do right? Did anybody struggle with that? What can we do to like make the struggle less next time?
Absolutely.
Whatever it is. But that retrospective is looking back and then processing that so you can inspect and adapt is what they call it in the Agile space. You want to inspect what just happened and then plan how you're going to adapt going forward so you're a higher performing next time.
Absolutely, yes.
About those retrospectives or postmortems that we've probably all experienced where there's people involved that for whatever reason don't like it. They don't want to look back on their mistakes. They don't want to be singled out, be like, hey, did you see Adam like during that fire drill? He had no idea what was going on. Yeah. He's a manager.
Yeah.
So what if Adam is not feeling confident in himself to be a part of that? There's I would assume that if the team has a culture of doing that often, it doesn't seem as uncomfortable. But if you do it only once a year, then it's going to suck.
Yeah,
right?
that goes back to being thrown into the wolves for your public speaking. He sucked. Guess what you're doing next week? Guess who's the first one up there again, pal? It's going to be you.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can really take a person's, I don't want to say the word failure because that's a bad analogy, but you can take the less performers and make it into a joke to make them feel more comfortable. Say, hey, let Johnny Heart Thumper over here do the CPR course this week because he really bombed last week. It's just, and just bring it forward.
Yeah.
I was working for a large hotel company and they hired an executive coach who was excellent. And he was, we met with him once a week for like 6 or 7 weeks. And he used a term called relatedness. And I think I talked about this on our show once before, Matt, maybe in the beginning. And if you don't feel or have relatedness, if you're not relating to the person that you're working with, you're not going to say something like that. Hey, Mr. Johnny Heart Thumper there, because you're not relating to that person. You're not comfortable enough yet. And so what his anecdote for that is just repetition. More closeness, more conversations, more events where you are interacting with that person, you increase the relatedness. And then all of a sudden, like you said, John, you might be able to joke around about it. And so if you're not, then you won't. And
you're absolutely right. Repetition is the key to KPI. Adapt and overcome, period.
And just keep doing it. Like you said, put in the reps, John. You want to get better at public speaking? Do it every day.
That's right.
right? It goes from ugly to pretty over time. You know.
Yes, it
You know,
does.
Nat,
you know?
I don't think I shared with you yet, but Gabe, my son, for all you millions of listeners out there, he just sprained his ankle pretty bad last
Ooh.
week.
Wow.
He's a baseball player, and it was one of those inner tears. Yeah, it's painful. And you know, listening to him work through that, he actually was verbalizing not the pain, but the fact that how much he took for granted. And what he said, he goes, I see all these people walking around as if their ankles are fine. They're just and here I am with a boot and crutches, and wow. And so and I was thinking, in my mind, and I didn't say this, but I had twisted my ankle, and I still do, probably at least a dozen times. And I said, I think I was thinking in the same way when my ankle was hurt one time, or when you bang your funny elbow, your funny bone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks, and you start realizing, like, wow, I didn't even realize. And when you start looking at other people, they're like, man, that person's walking with no pain at all.
Yeah.
It's like reminding you. And so the next time, hopefully there won't be a next time, but the next time Gabe, I think he probably will, twist his ankle or sprains his ankle, it won't be as bad.
Right.
It won't be. And then and so because things happen, right? And this sounds like this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's getting
That's
through life.
That's an adapt and overcome, because you learn, as you were saying, Adam, the grumbling, that sucks. Yeah, look at that. The next time it happens, okay, I know how to deal with it a little bit more this time. I can adapt to it. I can understand it. Next
you can
time,
get faster. You can get better. You can get you can more agile.
You know how to handle.
We are over our hour that we try to strive towards. It's 4:00. So, did you guys want to say any last words, or we can just end it here?
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Well, that's true.
We're going to have a very we will have an episode next week, by the way, for our millions of fans that sign up every week, but it's going to be pre-recorded.
All right.
Okay, so maybe I'll reach out to you guys, and we'll just we'll pre-record an episode, and we'll make it fun. We won't do what every Friends episode and whatever, a Thanksgiving episode. Hopefully the culture of this video live podcast is a weekly gratitude.
Yep.
It really is. It reminds me to express gratitude, to express love, and to receive it, and to give it back. And that is really a good way to end the show for today, because next week is Thanksgiving. And I hope when we look back on our 26th and possibly 500th episode, is that it's a constant weekly reminder to express gratitude and to thank our friends and our family for the life that we have together. And so I'm expressing that to the both of you with love, with care and friendship and brotherhood. Thank you. I have much to be thankful for, and for you two for being a part of this. Thank you very much.
And thank you both for the opportunity to be here and to talk about cards.
Woo! That's it. Keep your deck close.
Bro, you mentioned Disney and Star Wars twice, so I'm calling them. I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Disney, we got this podcast here with like millions of viewers.
We gotta get a little sponsorship there. Whoa!
Look at that.
Tell them to send the check.
I'll get that on send the check, baby. You can come on and
send the check. We just advertise for you.
They need to promote themselves better. So maybe they want to come on the show and talk about Disney, because I don't think a lot of people know what they're about. So
that's
true. It'd be a nice thing.
Good point.
Everyone deserves a voice now, people. Come on.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. Love you guys.
Gentlemen, have a great evening.
Go get them, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
All right.
Ciao.